Well, now we have section 4, and section 4 is always one word only, almost always one word only. Write one word only for each answer. No number here, but otherwise they say one word and or a number. But here they say only one word. Effects of environmental change on birds. Effect means impact. Environmental change means global warming or anything like that. And on birds, they will specifically talk about birds. What is the impact or effect of global warming or environmental change on birds? They are talking about mercury. You might have seen mercury, yeah, in thermometers they have mercury. Hg is the scientific formula of mercury. If you've studied physics, chemistry, you know that. Point number 1 and point number 2, only just point number 2 come to the word coal. When in the audio they speak about coal, it means they have reached here, right? And now you read next one. So you don't need to read the first 2 bullet points. And even third one, fish, right? Just focus fish and then question number 31. So it means there will be a great deal of audio going on and on and on, coal, fish, and then they come to question number 31. It has also recently been found to affect birds which feed on. Now look here. Birds which feed on means what is it that birds eat, right? So it's basically, it can be the seeds, or it can be the insects, or it can be any specific fruit or anything like that, right? So actually it is something that the birds eat, right? Now the answer is going to be something that birds eat. Question 31.
You will hear a lecturer on an environmental studies course discussing how birds are affected by environmental change.
Okay, so we've been looking at how man-made changes in our environment can affect wildlife. Now, I'll discuss a particular example. Let's take a look at mercury. Mercury's one of the 120 or so elements that make up all matter, and it has the symbol Hg. It's a shiny silvery substance. You may have seen it in old-fashioned thermometers, but it's not used much for domestic purposes now because it's highly toxic. But the problem is that the amount of mercury in the environment's increasing. The main reason for this is the power plants used to produce electricity. The main source of energy that most of them use is still coal, and when it's burned, it releases mercury into the atmosphere. Some of this gets deposited into lakes and rivers, and if it's ingested by a fish, it's not excreted. It stays in the fish's body, and it enters the food chain. So, it's been known for some time that birds which eat fish may be affected. But what wasn't known until quite recently is that those that eat insects can also be affected.
The first thing is be quiet. Okay, even if you find the answer, right? अब आपने सारी दुनिया को बता दिया कि मैंने गलत आंसर पिक कर लिया. ठीक है, तो बाज़ औक़ात वो फिर इज्जत अफजाई नहीं होती, खामोश रहना बेहतर होता है. Now answer is, they said it was known in the past, and then they said, so what's the right answer? Insects, exactly. One more thing, don't rush towards the answer. Even if you've written one answer, immediately see what the right answer is. Okay, let's go on. Question number 32. It's about research on effects of mercury on birds, and they say Claire Varian Rome is investigating. That's the lady who is investigating. Now question, effects on birds dash. Listen, whenever there is we call it actually inverted, not inverted commas, what do we call the apostrophe? Whenever there is apostrophe in the audio, like it is birds dash, something which is related to bird. It can be bird's body, bird's eyes, bird's dash. So for instance, if the answer is bird's brain, in the audio they will say brain of the bird. This apostrophe thing is usually converted into off, OF off. Now let's see what is it which is related to that bird, and it is related to the bird. It can be the part of body, it can be any activity and all that.
So, a woman called Claire Varian Ramos is doing some research on how this is affecting birds. And rather than looking at how many birds are actually killed by mercury poisoning, she's looking for more subtle sub-effects. And these may be to do with the behaviour of the birds, or with the effect of mercury on the way their brain works. So, whether it leads to problems with memory.
So, behavior of the bird. So, behavior of the bird. Now, keep in mind, whenever they use this apostrophe S, they will use off for that. That's very, very common, right? Behavior, American spelling or British spelling, they will accept it. Question number 33. The effects on bird song usually learned from a bird's dash. Now, listen. Effects on bird song, like choo choo of the bird and all that, usually learned from a bird's dash. Now bird learns that song from birds. No, bird actually learns these songs from birds. I mean, for example, there is a little baby bird will learn to sing from mother or father or anyone like that. Okay, so let's see what the answer is. Usually learned from. Now what is learned from? Bird song. Bird song is chirping of the birds, right? So what is the source of learning that bird song? So that is going to be the answer.
And she's particularly focusing on the effects of mercury on bird song. Now, the process of song learning happens at a particular stage in the bird's development. And what you may not know is that a young bird seems to acquire this skill by listening to the songs produced by its father, rather than by any other bird.
By its father, rather than by any bird, right? Any other bird. So father will be the answer, right? Just check their search and research, how they started. Okay, let's go on. Findings. Now they will tell us the findings. Question number 34. Songs learned by birds exposed to mercury are less. Now songs learned by birds means those baby birds who learn the song, these songs are less. Now for less, either they can use any other word, or they can, one more thing, for less they can use the word they are not. Okay, are less, after are if they put not, for example, are less attractive. For example, are less attractive means are not attractive. Do you understand? Less attractive and not attractive. Now focus anything that can be the synonym for less, and in IELTS language, not is a synonym for less. Exactly. Let's see.
And Varian Ramos has already found in her research that if young male birds are exposed to mercury, if they eat food contaminated with mercury, then the songs they produce aren't as complex as those produced by other birds.
Songs aren't as complex as produced by other birds. So answer is complex. C-O-M-P-L-E-X. Clear? Yes. So are less and are not complex. Okay, let's go on. Question number 35. This may have a negative effect on birds dash. Again apostrophe, right? So this is again, I mean, if the song is not attractive, it's going to affect on birds something. Let's see what that is.
So, quite low-level exposure to mercury is likely to have an impact on male birds in a natural situation, because it can mean that they're less attractive to female birds, and so it can affect their chances of reproduction.
It can affect their chances of reproduction. So effect on birds reproduction, and for birds they use the word their, chances of their reproduction. Like they sing a song, they attract the female bird, and this is how they do. Let's go on. Lab-based studies. Question number 36. Allow more. Now they will use any other word for allow. Allow more dash for the experiment, for the experimenter. So they allow more something, or for allow more they can say they can give more or sufficient or enough or anything like that. Let's see what that is.
Now, the way she's carrying out this research is worth thinking about. She's using a mixture of studies, using birds kept in laboratories and studies carried out outdoors in the wild. The lab-based studies have the advantage that you don't get all the variables you would in a natural setting. So, the experimenter has a much higher level of control, and that means they can be more confident about their...
Much higher level of and allow more. More and much higher level. Now they are synonyms in IELTS language. Understand? Good. Very good. Let's go on. Implications for human. Implication means results. Results for human. Outcomes. Question number 37. Migrating birds such as. Very simple. Answer is a bird. They will tell us the name of the bird, and that bird is migrating bird. Migrating bird, you know, in winter you see some birds, they come here from Siberia and other stuff like that, right? So can you tell me any example of the bird that comes from Siberia? Mig, okay, and some wild ducks, you know, murghabi, we call it wild duck. Yeah, goose, even they travel. So answer is a bird, and that bird is a migratory bird, and they will tell us the name of the bird like pigeon, crow, or any other bird. Let's see.
So, what are the implications here for humans? Well, because many birds are migratory, they may be transporting mercury far from contaminated sites. For example, it's been found that ducks who'd been feeding at a contaminated site were later shot by hunters over 1,000 kilometers away, and presumably...
Right, so answer is ducks, and this duck is not the big duck, it's the small duck we call murghabi, right? Ducks will be the answer, and you can write singular or plural because it will not affect any verb or anything like that. Let's go on. Question number 38. Mercury or mercury also causes problems in learning. Underline the word learning. For learning, they may use the word acquisition. For example, learning English, acquisition of English. Understand? For learning, they can use acquisition or any other word for learning, and answer is going to jump after that. Let's start.
In addition, going back to song learning by birds, we saw that this may be affected by mercury contamination. Well, we also know that in humans, mercury causes developmental delays in the acquisition of language. And in fact, this process is very similar.
Developmental delays in the acquisition of language. So learning language and acquisition of language. Language will be the answer. Clear? Good. Question number 39. Mercury in a mother's body form dash may affect the unborn child. Right? So mercury in a mother's body from. Now from where does it come? From means the source of mercury in mother's body may affect the unborn child.
But mercury contamination has other important implications for humans as well. It's now known that an unborn child can be affected if the food eaten by its mother contains high levels of mercury, and these effects can be quite...
So, if the food eaten by its mother, so in a mother's body from food actually. I play it again, some of you are still confused.
But mercury contamination has other important implications for humans as well. It's now known that an unborn child can be affected if the food eaten by its mother...
Food eaten by its mother. So, mother's body from food may affect the unborn child. Last question 40. New regulations for mercury emission will affect everyone's energy. Right? So, I mean, if they have new implications or new regulations, that means they will not allow coal to be used to produce energy. So, new regulations for mercury emissions will affect everyone's energy. For everyone, they might use the word people or anything like that. An answer is going to come something related to energy.
In the end, it comes down to whether more value is placed on human economic well-being or environmental well-being. It's true there are new regulations for mercury emissions from power plants, but these will need billions of dollars to implement and increase costs for everyone. Some argue that
Increase costs for everyone. So, everyone's energy cost, C-O-S-T, cost will be the answer. Just listen again.
in the end, it comes down to whether more value is placed on human economic well-being or environmental well-being. It's true there are new regulations for mercury emissions from power plants, but these will need billions of dollars to implement and increase costs for everyone. Some argue that's too much to pay to protect wildlife. But as we've seen, the issues go beyond that, and I think it's an issue we need to consider very carefully.
Okay, all clear? All good?